For many years now, Russ and Craig have had many wide-ranging conversations with folks from all over the gaming world. This is one of those conversations.
D6G, the Lost Chapter.
Hey, Craig, it's good to be back in Dunks again. I got my nice big coffee here. In a cold winter like this, you need the coffee?
You do. Unfortunately, I got iced coffee again.
What are you thinking? It's freaking 5 degrees out right now.
That's what I always get. I always get iced coffee. And right now I'm thinking that was a mistake.
Who's that in the corner? Is that Teras? Well, of course, Teras.
Teras can't hide with height like that. Are you insane?
Of course not, but also he can't be cold because he's from Canada, eh?
Oh, that's right. Canada.
Right. So how's it going, Teras?
Teras.
It is Teras in the house.
Right. In the hizzy. Teras. So Teras, our friend from Geek Nation Tours, has been on the show before. Welcome back, Teras. We appreciate to have you on here.
Thank you. I've got my donut and my Canadian maple syrup.
Canadian maple syrup. You know, the people from Vermont tell me their maple syrup is better than Canadian maple syrup. Would you have anything to say about that?
They don't know from some syrup.
Okay. Fair enough. Now, are there Dunkin' Donuts in Canada?
I do not believe that there are. So I had to travel all the way to the United States.
That's why you're down here with us. And
that's right.
And do they sell donuts in Canada?
They do. And Tim Hortons especially.
Okay. And do they have a particular kind of donut that you are a fan of?
I usually get the Canadian maple donut, which is interesting enough because I don't usually go for that. And but the problem is that they don't have drive-throughs. You can only bring your wolf team through. You've got to drive through with your wolves.
The dog. So could
dog teams and they don't allow cars though.
So could we destroy a donut shop by just spreading the rumors that their Canadian maple donuts actually have Vermont maple syrup in them? Would that
could.
Okay.
But you could also destroy.
That would be very nice.
You could also destroy a Canadian donut shop with a torch because they're also igloos.
Oh, geez, wow! All right. Good. Just so we're clear.
Wow.
On
okay.
that there.
Yeah. So email him at
Teras@Canada.com.
So Geek Nation Tours.
Geek Nation Tours. So we're not here to talk about Canada, although we could.
We could. Apparently, Teras could.
Right. We're actually here. You know what's getting close. You know it's 2014 now, and Teras, you're chillaxing now after the big fall con season, right?
Yes. Yes.
But the very first con for Geek Nation Tours in 2014 is, in fact, Adepticon, right?
It is. Yeah.
It is. So that's pretty exciting, and it's also one of the earlier cons in the season. Of course, we have our local favorite con, TempleCon, is coming up, and Craig and I will be going to that. But we're already looking ahead to Adepticon.
Super. We love Adepticon.
We do. We're going to be back there again this year, running the board game thing on Sunday night there. But as it gets closer, we're looking at all the excitement of what's going on. We thought it'd be kind of fun to sit here in Dunkin' Donuts, enjoy some fine maple donuts from your favorite originating location of your choice, and talk about what kind of things we're excited about for Adepticon 2014, how we prepare for them, what we're looking into, how you pick from this bevy, Craig, of gaming choices.
Bevy of gaming beauties, maybe even.
So first of all, we should just quick say, Adepticon this year is what, April 3rd through 6th, I think? Is that right? Teras, something like that?
Yes. Yep, it is, as a matter of fact.
We're getting close, so not that far away.
You're
3 months away or so.
Get on there.
So we're getting there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because they have, as they did last year, they added a day, right?
Yes, it's getting bigger. So,
it is.
Teras, so I know you've got a whole tour thing going up there, but I also know that you try to carve out a little bit of time just for yourself to do things as well there, right?
Exactly. I used to actually stay by my booth and hang out at my booth and talk to people when they come by, but I decided it's much more interesting for myself and kind of better for Geek Nation Tours if I'm in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I love it. It's since I've started playing, I've even come to give them more respect. They run a great show, really well run, and super amount of fun. So I always love going to Adepticon.
So when you're looking at this stuff, like how do you decide? 'Cause especially since you have, you've got a lot of other commitments going on with the tour you're running and other things going on there. So you've got very limited time. How do you decide? I mean, every year do you do the same little event, sort of like as a ritual, kind of, I can't wait to get into play this event as my favorite every year, or do you kind of like, what one thing am I going to sample this time around? How do you pick what you're going to do?
Well, I did Combat Patrol for the first couple years and
what's
really
Combat
enjoyed
Patrol?
that. The way I really decide is, first of all, the first night is first day I'm really busy, and the first night I'm really busy, so I don't do anything the first night. Friday's the first time I do it, and then I don't do anything in the evenings. So that kind of gets rid of a lot of stuff. So, for instance, I don't do the 40K championship because I just can't dictate that much time to it. So I do smaller tournaments. This year I'm not doing Combat Patrol 40K Combat Patrol, but I'm doing 40K Warzone. Just because I wanted to do something a little bit bigger. It gives me a little bit more miniatures that I have to get done by April, and really excited about that. Yep.
Cool.
So Dreadball. So the what's the difference in those two events? You got the Combat Patrol, and then
Combat Patrol is 400 points, and Warzone is 1,000 plus a sidebar of 250.
Okay.
And it takes place either in the desert or in boarding actions.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
Now, is Warzone like a tournament, or is it more like an open gaming kind of thing? You just fight other players and get points for doing it, or something like that?
No, yeah, it's a tournament
Oh, wow.
10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Friday.
Right.
So it's a longish day, but I get to sleep in, and then I'm off because we always leave for dinner around 7 o'clock on the tour. So it'll give me a little time to freshen up and head on out.
So, Craig, how about you? I mean, we have our commitment Sunday night, and then
Right.
But how do you start examining what you're actually going to participate in?
Well, I used to play Epic, and I actually, for the first 2 years, I played in the Epic tournament and really enjoyed it. It's a small group, but it's a really nice group. A bunch of really great guys that play in it every year, and actually, it's drawing more and more Epic people. So every year it's bigger, and last year it brought a bunch of the local guys from down in Massachusetts and Connecticut. Unfortunately, last year was the first year I didn't play in it. I don't think I'm going to be able to play in it again this year because Winged Hussar Publishing actually just announced that they're going to have a booth at Adepticon, and so I'm going to be spending a lot of time there. I'm going to be spending a lot of time at the Wild West Exodus booth. So I don't know like specifically when those commitments are gonna land, so I can't plan ahead. But I am going to spend a lot of time watching Epic being played because I love it. But to be totally honest, for me, Adepticon is all about fulfilling my gamer voyeuristic side. I just love watching all the 40K stuff. The 40K team tournaments and the gladiators in particular, just because of the painting and the conversions and the models you almost never get to see on the table, just stomping all over the place on really cool terrain. I mean, it's daunting when you think about when you walk into that enormous ballroom and think that every one of those tables is playing Warhammer 40,000 and every one of them has awesome terrain on it. It's just incredible. So I really love just going and watching and kind of hanging out and getting just sort of soaking it all in, really.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
I think that's a great point. I mean, the Gladiator is awesome for that. You get to see. I mean, how often do you see a real Thunderhawk on the table, or that kind of thing? And it's a thing of beauty. So yeah, that's a great point, Craig.
Oh, yeah, like Titans and giant bio-tyrannid constructs, and it's just crazy. And the sheer amount of points available for painting and theme and everything on the team tournaments means that the team tournaments they have these huge display sets that their trays are big display trays and the mod. I mean, it's really, you don't see anything like it even in a White Dwarf. I mean, it Adepticon for 40K people and fantasy people, both the same, just blows away anything GW has ever done for their stuff. Any games day you've ever gone to pales in comparison to the kind of stuff you see at Adepticon.
Yeah.
And I totally have to agree.
I think it even gets kicked up more when you also factor in Crystal Brush.
Oh, absolutely.
From a voyeur point of view, because Crystal Brush, for those who don't know, is probably the most premier, not company sponsored, and I mean not miniature company sponsored painting event.
Not not miniature company specific. I
right,
think
that's what I
you
should.
need, you
right,
need to
'cause
say.
there are sponsors involved. I mean
Yeah.
Battle Foam and other people sponsored the actual prize pool because I think like the grand prize is like $10,000 or something.
Yeah, you're not fighting for a little, a replica sword or anything
No.
like that anymore.
No, you're still fighting for an awesome crystal trophy, but it's also attached to $10,000 check, which is pretty nice.
Right, yeah.
But
Which at the same time, I mean, it's always kind of awkward at that point because
Yeah.
then once you get a $10,000 payday in on that, then it really kind of changes the whole feel.
yeah,
of
it's a very competitive thing, but what it does do is it draws literally some of the best painters in the world.
People travel from all over the world just
Yes.
to do Crystal Brush.
So you see amazing. I mean, just some of the best painting you'll ever see in person anywhere is at Adepticon. It's just amazing to watch.
Yep.
So that's cool. And then again, what's also cool. And here's my thing. So I'm thinking like, I used to. I mean, I've been at Adepticon. I've played the team tournaments. I've done some of the big stuff before, and it's a blast. But I'm with you, Craig. I now what I'm finding is cool is like the last time I went, and I'm kind of going like to find the gems because like, Gen Con is sort of that way too. But when you get here now, is you get all the miniature gaming companies. My Adepticon is just miniature gaming at its best, with just every miniature game company that's even in the marketplace is there, and either they're established. And now they've got their own tournaments at Adepticon as well, like an Infinity or Malifaux or even Dark Age, or they're a brand new company that's there showing off their next, what they're trying to get into. So you can also see new games. Adepticon is the place where I played the demo of Zombicide and was back to first Kickstarter right there after I played the demo and got Zombicide that way.
And they did really well that Gen Con, didn't they?
Yeah,
that Adepticon, they did awesome.
So. And that's great. Cool Mini or not is there in force. And what's cool about them is they've got all their games. I mean, Rivet War is shipping now. So you'll see some Rivet Wars events and stuff going on there. But they're going to be showing off like Chaos Ball and Dreadball, all their stuff. Dreadball's Mantic, but they'll be there too. Sedition Wars, all that stuff's going to be there. And so now I'm like, well, what do I want to, I want to play some of these games and see them and see what's going to be the next. What's going to be that next Kickstarter I want to back, or just see, I get to finally see Rivet Wars in like a tournament format, and see people playing it, or that kind of thing.
Well, I think that's another good thing about Adepticon too, is that you can do all that stuff with little or no investment. You know what I mean? So you can go and try Zombicide or go and try Rivet Wars, all the new guys, and you don't really need to buy the game or the miniatures. You can see how it plays and how you feel relate to the game, and then go from there. So that's the fact that you can do it without investment is really awesome.
And it's a great way to get to see. What's also cool is because Adepticon pulls from so many areas. To Craig's point, there's actually a good number of Epic players there, right? So if you're into a miniature war game. And the community is it's more of a niche game that's still awesome. People are passionate about it, but it's just not as many people that maybe play with you locally. Going to Adepticon, you'll actually see people that are passionate about every miniature game pretty much that's ever existed.
There, in my opinion, there's nowhere you can go to see the depth of the miniatures hobby like you can see at Adepticon. So not only Epic, but Battlefleet Gothic is going to be there. You're going to see Mordheim on awesome tables. You're going to see Lord of the Rings on awesome tables. And actually, looking through the event listings, Legends of the Old West, which is an okay game system, but that really got me back into Cowboys and is how I got into building my own Cowboy City and getting in a gut shot and everything was because of the Legends of the Old West event at Adepticon. And actually, many of my buildings from Brimstone, in fact, are based on the buildings that the guy who runs the Legends of the Old West event uses. I mean, they're awesome. He's got a whole resin city that he puts together, and you see that for almost every one of these. You're going to see these games that you've never seen, the games that you've only heard about. Small companies are going to be able to they show up and they show you these models and they show you the games. In fact, there's a whole hallway that's really almost nothing but small miniatures companies that have built a table and they've got their models all painted up beautiful and they're doing demos all day long. It's just amazing stuff.
Yeah, and I think what's great about it is that it's almost hard to pick what what tournaments and what games you play. Every time I talk to you, Craig, about Adepticon, I say I gotta do Epic next year because I always, I love that, and then I always seem to forget because I always see something else, and I'm like, oh, so yeah, Epic is such a great game, and
it is.
So you get. I think the point I'm trying to make is that you get to have all the new stuff, but you get to have the stuff in the past too, and that doesn't happen very often. It's really a thing of beauty when you get to have new and old in the same room under the same roof.
And a lot of the companies are really sensing that Adepticon is the place to be. So you get, like, for instance, last year Weird Miniatures was there with a giant Malifaux push because Malifaux 2.0 was just around the corner. And 2 years ago you had Fantasy Flight there with this huge Dust Warfare push, which I was so disappointed there was nothing there last year.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's Adepticon is a place where you can really, like, no pun intended, but kickstart your game system into this mainstream, and it's huge. It's bigger every year. It's pushed out to the absolute limits of this hotel. It's just incredible the new stuff that you see, but at the same time, like you just said, Teras, the old stuff that gets brought out, and it's brought out by people who love it and are fixated on it. So they've got the terrain and they've got the models, and it's really, you're seeing, honestly, every one of these games at the height of their full realization. So you're seeing War Machine armies that are, like, really painted well, and you're seeing hordes, and you're seeing huge flames of war games, and you're seeing all these very, very rare, like, there's an entire tournament, or there was last year, I'm sure there will be this year, of the Fellowship of the Ring, not the big giant War of the Ring game, which there was some of that too, but that's the skirmish game, the tabletop strategy game. So it literally, it's like there's I don't know, I can't even explain it. I get so jazzed up and excited for Adepticon every year. And the thing about Epic is it's really the easiest thing to pack in the world. So that's
what I'm thinking. So my tough choices this year, I like to use these kind of events as an excuse to paint up an army or finish something.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at, I've got all these small games now, right? So like there's a Wild West Exodus event, Gunslinger Brawl at Adepticon this year. Like, what a great excuse to paint my guys up, for then. So I'm like, well, there's that. So do I want to do that? And one thing, Teras, I wanted to ask you, because maybe you know the answer to this, being a experienced Adepticon veteran, is if you go to the Adepticon website right now and you go to, like, you try to figure out the rules for some of these events, the major events are there, like the big 40K event and the big things like that. But a lot of the smaller event rules aren't on their rules page. Do you have to go to the company's website that's running it, or do they eventually get them there when it gets closer to the event?
I think it's as you enter, basically. I don't think I've ever seen it. You know what? I can't talk to that as I haven't had the experience of doing, like, the Wild West or one of the smaller games. Like I said, I always try to think
figure that out because I don't even know what to paint. So I may have to go to the forum.
Yeah, that's a good question. You know what? I know that the Wild West Exodus guys have their stuff all put together. I think you'd have to contact them almost. Craig might have an email for you or something.
Well, it's not just that. Like, I was looking at there's other ones too. Like I don't believe from my understanding, the Adepticon Council, the guys that work on this year round, 365 days a year, are really involved with the 40K and the fantasy side of things, and the individual companies, clubs, or groups of fans are primarily involved with almost everything else. So you almost kind of, if they're not available on the website, then you kind of have to get in touch with the individual people. But I think the contact information is there, and I know the Epic guys are extremely responsive to whenever you ask them questions about the specific rules and the packets and stuff like that. Yeah, I'll reach out.
Yeah, I think that what's great about it, I think that's the beauty of Epic, of Adepticon in general, is that they run a great 40K and fantasy tournament, and they also let the people that run their stuff run it without their fingers kind of meddling inside it, and so you get fans running fan-based tournaments, and it actually works, I think, better than everybody them being strictly organized in that way. I mean, their event is incredible, well run. I mean, I've seen a lot of events, a lot of cons, and Adepticon is one of my favorites for just how well run it is, and that's great. It's because they let the fan run it when they need to. So
Yeah.
So and that's what I'm trying to figure out. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what do I want to bring? Because so one of our local friends demoed Dreadball to me the other day. And
I thought you'd already played that.
I had played it, but I hadn't played it in a while. And
Yeah.
Will was trying to learn the rules, and it was a little rough. And they're now in like the third season of Dreadball, so they've refined the rules, and there's like 10 teams now or something. And I played it, and I liked it.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I'm not gonna invest in the whole game and get 30 teams or anything, because I got Chaos Ball coming. I'm really excited about that. But I liked it enough to be like, I'll drop the $15 on a team, right? Or the $20 on a team, and just have a team. So I'm like, ooh, so do I want to paint that because it's a Dreadball tourney? You know, at Adepticon.
Yeah.
That. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do that. And then maybe I want to do WWX. And okay, maybe I want to do, my Rivet Wars just shipped, so that's coming to me. So maybe I want to get my Rivet Wars painted up, and I can play in the Rivet Wars event. There's also there's an X-Wing tournament. So I'm like, oh, maybe I should bring my X-Wing stuff. So I got all these small games, so I could bring the small stuff. There's a Dust Tactics event, too. Now, I don't know Tactics very well. I know Warfare better, but I'm like, oh, I may want to play in that. So I can't decide all these different events. I got to figure out what things I want to play in. And I'm so excited because these games, it's funny. Adepticon has these great venues for the big games, War Machine and 40K and everything. But also, it's one of the few places where you can see major tournaments with good turnout for all these small games. Even War Master and Space Hulk and, Sedition Wars has got a big event going on. I kind of should I paint my Sedition Wars stuff, bring it up for that? And I see lights out. It's like midnight Sedition Wars, So I don't know. I can't decide. There's so much cool stuff going on.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I decide only by what's in my closet now. I kind of go in my closet and go, okay, like that's what I'm bringing my Astral Claws this year, and I've had this Chaos Army and this idea for a Huron Blackheart army for years sitting in my closet, and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do for next year? And I was going to do another Demons list, and I realized I'd have to buy, because Khorne is next, so I'd have to buy Demons, right? I'd have to buy. I've got all the big models, but not the troops. And I looked in my closet, and I'm like, I've got a whole army of Chaos Space Marines. Guess what I'm doing next year?
Yeah, good idea.
So, just pull it out of the closet. So
that's what I should do. I should like I have my Sedition Wars stuff like half painted. I should just say I'm going to play in Sedition Wars and finish painting my stuff or something like that.
Yeah, because a tournament is a great way to motivate your painting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So if you've got there's been stuff that's just been sitting there, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to get to that. Well, just bring it out, put it on your table, and start painting and get her done. So that's a great incentive to get something done. That's how I've used it ever since I've played in tournaments.
Yeah, and you mentioned painting, and I was just a couple of years ago at Adepticon, I went to my first Adepticon panel, and it was around airbrushing, and it was great. I still have not taken the plunge on airbrushing, but I am so close to wanting to try this out. But then I was looking this year, it seems like their sessions for painting have exploded. It's gone from like one or two side things to like they've got a session on color theory, on two-brush blending, and acrylic additives and glazing.
They've always had a really good academy.
It's just awesome. I'm like, oh man, I want to go like green stuff, lose the fear. I'm like, oh yeah, you how to sculpt. You like this one, Craig? Painting chibi.
Yeah, that's
there you go.
You go ahead and do that
little
one.
Super Dungeon Explorer. Well, I got Super Dungeon Explorer and Rivet Wars. I need because the problem is guys have huge eyeballs and big faces and lots of flat surfaces. I need tips.
Yeah.
Photographing miniatures. I've always dabbled in that, but it'd be kind of cool to see what the pros do. How to paint expressive faces.
I have heard awesome things about the introduction to green stuff.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
I'll check that out.
Yeah.
And weathering. I've heard the ones that people are constantly talking about to me are the weathering class and the intro to green stuff class.
Yeah, they're awesome. Last year was the first time I took a painting class. I took the two-brush blending.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I had somebody on my tour that we were talking about it after. He took it at a different time than I did. And we came together, and he asked me what I did, and I said I did this thing, and then I looked at him and I said, you know what? That class changed my life.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. And he looked at me and he said, I thought exactly the same thing.
Wow.
Wow.
Like it was unbelievable. Like I thought, you get so far as a painter, and as you get, I don't know, this might be a little bit cheesy, but as you get a little bit older, you think, okay, well, this is the skill set that I have. This is where I'm going to be, and I'm good with that. I don't think I'll get,
I don't think that's cheesy. I think that's exactly what I think.
But it's not. It's not like this two brush blending. I've used it on Huron. Yeah. I've used it actually a year later on my
So you're saying this old dog can learn new tricks?
You can.
Wow.
You can.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's what it's kind of exciting that way. That's why now when people come on one of my tours to Adepticon, I say, listen, you gotta play in one small tournament of whatever size you want, because a lot of people say on their first time, I'm just going to come and hang out and check it out this year, and I'm like, no, you can't do that. Don't do that. Do one small tournament and at least one class. That's all.
Yeah.
Push yourself just to do that, because you'll come back so much more enlightened on the gaming aspect and the hobby aspect. Mm. I mean, I'm taking black and white this year painting, and I'm really excited about that one.
Now what is that?
That it teaches you how to paint black and white.
Real, like a whole black and white model, or just using the colors of black
Steamboat
and white.
Willie,
using the colors black and white.
Steamboat Willie.
Steamboat Willie.
No. Well, I mean, the reason I ask is
I hope I signed up for the right course. I believe it's how to paint black and how to paint white.
All right.
Right.
So
the first year we went to Gen Con and we watched the speed painting, Russ. One of those like world-class painters did a black and white model. I can't remember if it was Eric Johns or one of the people sitting right next to him, but I mean, it was an amazing model that looked like a black and white photo. So I didn't know.
That sounds it sounds like a very simple idea, but
I think that's amazing.
Those are the two hardest colors to straight up shade.
Yep, absolutely.
I think they're the most difficult colors. Period.
Yeah, I think you're right. So that's cool. That sounds really awesome.
I'm really excited about that. Yeah, I'm excited about that one, and I'm gonna take the plunge and take Lose the Fear green stuff, because I've been wanting to get into his class for a while. I think I saw his work like 10, 15 years ago I'm like, I'd love to get into his class, and so I'm really happy about that one, and I'm gonna do airbrushing, the demo one that you took before.
Yeah, that was awesome. And that's the thing. There's so much cool stuff. And then, so we talked about like all these small games have great tournaments and events, but then you also have all the demos. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to try to do a small thing like you're suggesting, Teras, something, because I want to. I'm like Craig. I want to be a voyeur. I want to go around, look at all the crazy models, visit the vendor hall. You know.
But you got to play something.
But you
got to roll dice.
Exactly. So I'm either bringing. It's going to be WWX, or it's going to be maybe I'll bring my War Machine. I don't know. I'm going to bring something and play. But then. And then I want to take up some of these painting classes. I don't even, probably 2 or 3. But I also want to do demos, because you also can see, like, and it doesn't have to be a game that you've never heard of, or a game that's new. You can. I mean, Cool Mini are there in force, and all their board games are there. Rivet Wars, Sedition Wars. There's also like Ethereum and Brushfire, which I played before, which is the great little sort of animal people warrior thing, which is really cool. Infinity's there, but it's great. But what I like about this is you go and demo a game that maybe you've heard about, or maybe a couple people play, but you never really got into it. You demo it there, but then you're also going to see some of those passionate players of that game also playing in a tournament. So you get a good demo from the company, from the people who make it. Yep. And you see the full line, and there's usually a great shop there, like Infinity is a good example, or Dark Age, or a Wrath of Kings is going to be there, whatever. And then go over and actually see people playing it with painted models and all passionate about it, and talk to the gamers and be like, what's this like? Why do you enjoy this game more than that game? And you can really, it's a great way to kind of confidently take the plunge in a new miniature war game, because it's a big investment in time and money. So you really want to make sure that's the kind of game that's for you. And it's just a great way to really sample some of those other games.
Yeah. I think what's important for me when I do demos is do the odd big guys demo game, but I always try to sneak out and see the smaller guys, the smaller companies. Last year, a couple of people that were on my tour did the Zombie Smith demo, and I think I'm going to go talk to those guys this year a little bit. Just some smaller companies that you might not think you think, okay, this is a small guy, but go and see him. Go talk to those small guys, and
Oh, heck yeah.
you know, and go see what they're up to, because I think there's a lot of cool ideas out there, and maybe you're not a 40K guy, maybe you're not a big GW fan. I am. I love them, as you can hear from me, but I also love to talk to the smaller companies, because you really kind of get a kind of cool insight into the industry that we all love, right? So,
So, Craig, you going to try to do arena combat in ancient Rome with me?
I might just do that.
Arena combat.
That
Craig.
sounds like it'd be a pretty darn cool thing to do.
I know. I want to see the models. That sounds awesome. And you guys heard of Legends of the High Seas before? Is that an old game or is that a new game?
oh,
No, I don't know. I don't know what that
I
is.
haven't even heard of it.
No, I gotta check that out.
Perfect one to go see.
I know. See, that's the thing. You get so much cool stuff. So anyway, so that is what we are excited about for Adepticon 2014. Always a great con. If you're a miniature gamer and you've never been to Adepticon, you just do yourself a favor and figure out a way to get there. Chicago, great deep dish pizza, and a great con.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's-
Make sure you go out for pizza, because it's awesome.
It is
It is
See,
awesome.
don't be fooled. Don't let me tell you that it's wrong to have the sauce on top, because it's not. They do it right up there. Just saying.
They,
yeah,
they
that's
do.
awesome.
They do.
They do it right. All right. So, boys, see you at Adepticon then, basically. Or something.
Yep.
And
I better go out.
Absolutely.
I better go out and check my car. Last time I was at a Dunkin' Donuts in Chicago, I got the boot put on.
Oh, nice. See, well, Teras, thank you for joining us here, Dunks, and
Absolutely.
We're looking forward to having you on the main show in about a week or so.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Should be a blast.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks for purchasing a D6G Lost Chapter. Supporting the show helps it grow.